everybody. Happy Mother's Day. It's Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. So hopefully somebody will come visit me today. I know it's Mother's Day, but I thought, we need to have Memorial Day weekend off. So there's actually 5 Sundays in May. So we're going to have Memorial Day weekend off. So we won't have a class that day. So I thought, you know what? Mother's Day, we're going to make something cute for Mother's Day today. So how is everybody today? It's been kind of dreary. It's just kind of a dreary day. Second here, I'm trying to get the comments up. Let me get the banner turned off. Okay, let's see. Everybody saying hi. Hi. So, I've been busy today. I've been working on some of the classes for May, and actually most of them are for May. Trying to look and see who all is saying hi. I'm seeing, okay. I can see over here better who's saying hi. Okay. So I needed to get a software class ready for May, and I had something in my head, but I hadn't had time to sit down and work on it. So I'll have to show you what I was working on today. It turned out really cute. And this is for the software people. So it's not really something that I can put up, that you can just have the design because it's sort of personalized. So, anyway, so this is what I made. I saw something like this and I thought this is going to be fun. So this is going to be the software class on the 22nd. It's 2 weeks. So 14 will be the 22nd, right? So it's a little pillow that says home, and you don't have to put it on a pillow. You could just put it on frame it or whatever. But I thought it might make a nice gift because there's a lot of weddings and stuff coming up and that type of thing. And I just really liked it. So it's applique and just some lettering. So I thought it was cute. So that's what I was working on today. So I had a nice afternoon of creating in my software. I just want people to learn to use their software just to do things, to make things. And this was a really simple thing. I know it looks like it might be really hard, but it was really a simple applique. So anyway, that's one of the things that I did today. Let's see, what else have I been working on? Of course, we're making this today. This is what we're making tonight. Just hanging with my buds. Now this one is, we're actually going to talk through the embroidery because the embroidery takes like an hour. So I didn't think you needed me to show you how to embroider this. Yeah, wouldn't that pillow be a nice wedding gift? And then I don't know if you saw with the home, it's the state of Iowa. So depending on which state you live in, you put the state of whoever you're giving it to, or your state or whatever, you put that state here. This is I live in Iowa, so I just put Iowa. So it could be Illinois or Florida or California or whatever. You just use that as the O there. So I just thought that was cute. I saw a pillow sort of like this that somebody done like a heat press or something, and I thought, well, we need to embroider it instead. So anyway, that was a fun project today. So anyway, so this one I'm going to talk you through the embroidery and what I did. I also encountered a problem with the design. So I want you to be aware of that before you try sewing it out. You might run across something strange. Okay. So what else have I been working on? Next week, we're going to work in, IQ Designer / Design Center, depending on if you have a Baby Lock or a Brother machine. And we're going to make a pillow. So I know I make a lot of pillows, but you don't have to make them pillows. You make them anything. It's just something easy that I can do. But I created this right in IQ Designer and Design Center. So this is the original one I did with the red work. And this is the newer one. I did a newer one that was a little bit lighter colored, more baby colors. So it's kind of greenish and then like pink along the edge. I have a cute back on the back. So this is what we're going to work on next week. I'm going to show you how to make this design. I've also given you, it's up on the group in the Dropbox. So it's under Love You to the Moon and Back pillow. So for those of you who don't have this machine that does this stuff, I put a PES file up there so you can sew it out. Okay. So this one, I do have the PES files available for you. if you don't have, Design Center and IQ Designer. But it's really fun to learn to do these in the machine. So that's what we're going to do next week. So this is next week's class. The software class will be the following week. So this will be the software class for the 22nd. And then I've been playing around with, we're trying to decide what we're going to do for Kimberbell Club next year. So I finally decided on, I think I like these little table toppers. So hopefully everybody will like these. These are the Kimberbell Cuties. And I've been working on this. And this is pieced traditionally and then sandwiched and quilted with the clear blue tiles. And then I did the embroidery in the corners after the fact. So see, I embroidered through the back. So that way it could be overall quilted with a in the hoop method instead of having to like free motion it or do something after you got all that applique on there. So I kind of like that applique going through the back like that. So I thought it turned out pretty good. Okay. So yeah, the table toppers I think are cute. Who said that? Oh, Teresa, you think you'll like that? I think people will like that. We're going to talk to the Kimberbell Club again this month, but I wanted to have one done so that people could see it and see what they thought of it. And they're really fun. So anyway, I've been busy this week. That's one of my projects I've been working on. And so let's see, what else do I have to work on? Oh, and I worked on Day at the Fair. So we're going to be doing Day at the Fair. It's a Kimberbell event in June. So if you're not signed up, the projects are very cute. I don't know if I have them close where I can get them here. I'm not sure where I put them. They're in one of these boxes. I have all these boxes stacked up with all the projects. So here's the little oven mitt. It's a little chicken. Isn't that cute? So that's one of the things from Day at the Fair. And then this is adorable towel. And it's all the little jars are filled with, like, this is strawberries and honey and pickles. I just thought they were adorable. So that's one of the projects. And then the third project was the it's a pie carrier. So it has a cute little thing that goes over the top. It says, "I only have pies for you," and it's a pie carrier. So those are the three projects. So I worked on those this week. Boy, I've gotten all kinds of stuff done. When the weather is not so great, it's good for staying in, isn't it? So anyway, I've been working on stuff. All right. So on to what we're actually doing tonight. Just hanging with my buds. So that's what I feel like tonight. I'm just hanging with my buds. They actually call this flower basket is what they call it, but I call it hanging with my buds. Oh, missed the pie carrier? Who said they missed the pie carrier? Jan? Did you not get to see it? Here's the pie carrier. This is from the Kimberbell event. So this is called Day at the Fair. So isn't that cute? And it's a tote bag, but you sew it together, in a different orientation to carry the pie in it. So isn't that cute? I thought they were really cute projects. It's a one-day event, so get all the kits and everything. It's really fun to do those events. So that's June. I think it's the 25th, June 25th. So it's up on the Shield Sewing Center website. If you aren't signed up, we're doing it virtually, or you can come to the store. We'll have 6 people in each store. You can take it virtually, and then we'll all be together on Zoom, so we can have a class with all of us together. So I thought that would be fun. So yes, June 25th. Thank you. Yep, Len. All right, so onward to just hanging with my buds. So this was a really fun project. It's mostly sewing though, so that's why I wanted to just walk you through the embroidery, because it's like, well, on my machine it says 43 minutes, but I know it took longer than that by the time you get all the there's just 3 little pieces of applique. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around here, and we'll talk about what you got to have cut and everything, and then we will just talk through the embroidery part, and then we'll sew it together. So just get a second here. I got to find the camera here. All right. Get my microphone switched over. All right. So can everybody hear me okay? I'm going to turn this way so I can see your comments a little bit better. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look first at what we need for fabric for this one. All right. It had quite a few colors in it too, so I'll kind of walk you through the colors as we're walking through the embroidery. You need a background piece that's 10.5 by 10.5, and I use this white here. So here's my piece that's all sewn out. So this white, it has like a little bit of a circle-ish kind of print on it. It's white on. It's kind of like a tone-on-tone white, and a piece of shape flex on the back of that. So second, let me pull this back so you can see the book a little bit better here. Okay. And then there were 3 little appliques in this one, and they're just 3 by 3 squares, and it was a little basket. So there's a green one, a purple one, and a gold one. You can make yours any color, of course. I just happen to have a kit for this one, so it's this kind of minty green, the purple, and the gold. Okay, so that's the 3 little appliques. And then you need the pieces for the pillow part. So you need some borders. Second here. You need the borders. So this is going to be a flange one. So you needed 2 borders that are 1.5 by 8.5 and 2 borders that are 1.5 by 10.5. And then you need the back pieces, which are 7 by 10.5. Okay, so that's what these are. Now I have pre-hemmed these, so that you're going to hem them on one of the long sides, each one. And I just hemmed it, rolled it over a quarter, and hemmed. Okay, so that's the backs of the little pillow. And this one's going to be a flange. So when we get to that, I think we've done a couple of these before, so you'll recognize when we get to that. Okay. Now, this design, I'm going to lay these up out of our way here. This design can be done 2 different ways. If you have a smaller machine, you can do it in 2 5x7 hoopings. So there's a set of instructions for the little divided pattern. So you can do it in 2 hoopings. Okay. I chose to use, since I have a bigger machine, I chose to use the single hooping, which was 8 by 8. However, I ran across an interesting problem. I am going to bring this up in the machine, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to put my 8 by 8 hoop in here. Okay, here's my 8 by 8 hoop, and we'll talk about hooping here in a minute. But oops, second here. Let me do something quickly so you can see. Back up one screen. There we go. So I'm going to put my 8 by 8 hoop in here. Now, the 8 by 8 hoops are not quite 8 by 8. It's about 7.8 by 7.8. Well, if you look at the size of this design that says it will fit in an 8 by 8 hoop, it does not. It's 7.97 by 7.04. Now, the 7.04 is fine. So you could put it in an 8 by 12 hoop, but it says that it fits in an 8 by 8. Okay, so what I did to take care of that is I have my 8. So if I hit my embroidery button right now, I got my 8 by 8 hoop in the machine. If I hit this embroidery button right now, it comes up and says change to a larger frame. So it won't fit in this frame when it says it does. Okay, so what I did to fix that is I just downsized it. You only have to downsize it in the machine a very teeny bit. So I hit edit, I hit size, and I hit the down button one time that has, it's the aspect ratio one with all the arrows pointing in. I hit it one time. So now it's 7.8 by 6.9, and it's perfect size now. So now if I hit embroidery now, it fits. Okay. So if you have a machine, like this week, my machine was in the shop. So I had my smaller machine that only has an 8 by 8 hoop in it, or 8 by 12. I could have put it in the 8 by 12. sometimes if you have smaller machines, then, you know, the designs actually don't show up on your USB stick. So if you've got a design on there, you know it's on there and it won't show up. And also ran across this with, are we having internet issues? Hopefully not. Are things stopping or are you okay? Hopefully everything's okay. So let me know if I'm stopping. So if you are across this week when I was doing that table runner, I wanted to show you that table runner. And that table runner again. Am I off? It's kind of going on and off for me tonight. I didn't restart all day. I think I'm back. Let me know if you can hear me. I think I'm back. Okay, I think I'm back. Can everybody hear me? Make sure can hear me. Awesome. It's working again. Every now and then I have this problem with I need to just every day before I start the class, I just need to restart the router and make sure everything's working. Because and this happens at Dad's, I think, when it rains. So there must still be some line issues somewhere. So anyway, I apologize for the technical difficulties. If you can hear me, I'll just continue on from where we left off. Oh, Cindy just got here, so that's good. You didn't miss anything, Cindy, except me going on and I'm coming off. So I think I'm back. So hopefully people can refresh their screens and get back and find us again, because we had quite a lot more people. So hopefully they'll be able to find me. Okay. So what we were talking about when everything went off. Okay, yay, everybody can hear me again. Awesome. Awesome. So I'm so sorry that happened. You just never know, you know, things just happen. So, but what we were talking about was this design was just slightly too large. So what I did to fix that so it fit in my 8x12 or my 8x8 hoop was I just hit that size button one time. Let me return to the previous page. I just hit it one time and now it's 7.8 by 6.9 because an 8x8 hoop is actually 7.8 by 7.8. And that was the problem. And the other thing we were talking about is I ran across a problem with the clear blue tiles that I was using for my table topper because I ran across, I was using my smaller machine. And so the 8x12 designs don't actually fit in an 8x12 hoop. They're too long. They're 0.07 inches too long. And so my little machine, smaller machine, only allows the 8x12 hoop. So if the designs are too large, they won't even show up on the machine. So like it wouldn't even show on my stick that the design was there. So that was the problem there. So anyway, this one, if you just hit it down one button, if you have a smaller machine like I have a 5200, if you have some software and can just bring it down just less than 1%, it'll fit in an 8x8. Okay. Otherwise you could put it in an 8x12 if you've got an 8x12. Okay. So that was my little story there because I didn't notice things just didn't fit. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, because I noticed it on my PR too. It wouldn't fit on the PR either. So, okay. So is everybody still hearing me okay? Everything looks okay on my end. Can you send me like thumbs ups on Facebook so that I can see that you're hearing me all right? So hopefully everything's okay now, so you can hear me. We lost quite a few people. I'm so sorry. Everybody's hearing me? Can you hear? Send me some thumbs ups. Good. So everybody's hearing me. All right. Awesome. So yeah, we lost quite a few people. I'm so sorry, everybody. I of course I'll probably download the video and then I'll take out the chunk in the middle that we were off, and it'll hopefully stay. The continuity will be okay. So, all right. So what we're going to talk about then is getting. So we talked about the design being a little bit too big. Got that all taken care of. So I'm going to take my hoop out here. I did use the 8x8 hoop for this, and I put my piece of, we're going to talk through the embroidery. So I put my piece of shape flex on the back of my fabric. I ironed it on. Okay. Oh, good. People are getting back. I'm glad. Just like, let me get my, see if my, now my chat is not scrolling up, so I can't see anybody's comments. So let me see if I can come out and come back in again, see if I can get the chat to come back up. It's hard for me to answer people's questions if I don't know who they are. So, okay, there we go. Awesome. All right. So I have my main background fabric, and then I put in the, I put on the shape flex on the back. Okay. And then in the instructions, of course, it tells you to use cutaway, which I don't do normally with any of these. And we've done quite a few of these now. So you know that I normally use tearaway. So I took my tearaway and I took my fabric with my shape flex on it. And then I took my fabric glue stick and I glued on the back, put glue on the back of my fabric and kind of eyeballed, lining it up on my stabilizer, and then stuck it down. And then when I hooped it, I did the same thing. I kind of hooped everything, evenly in the hoop, and I just eyeball it. They always tell you in the instructions to do all the marking and this and that, and I just kind of eyeball it because they give you plenty of fabric. So then, I just laid it on here, had my stabilizer all, even and everything, and I got it hooped in my hoop. Okay. Now, the one thing about this design, it has quite a lot of stitches. It's, let me go back into the embroidery. Let's see. It is 27,000 stitches. So it had quite a lot of stitches. So I did, I had my shape flex. I had my one piece of tearaway, but then I did float another piece of tearaway underneath because it was a lot of stitches. Okay. So I went ahead and I just went ahead and floated it. So what I mean by that is, you just pick the hoop up, lay a piece of tearaway that's big enough for the part of your design, just lay it under the hoop. And then when you start stitching, it's going to take that piece with it. Okay. So I did that. And then in my bobbin, I had my, my pre-wound embroidery bobbin in my tight bobbin case, the one with the little polka dot. I don't have it out right now because I've got sewing thread in here. And I used my embroidery thread on the top. Okay. All right. So let's talk through this embroidery just a little bit. There were quite a few colors in here. Let me get this turned. So we know what fabrics we had. Okay. And I had my tearaway and my glue stick. And instead of doing all the marking, I kind of eyeball it. And then I floated my second piece of tearaway. All right. So I used, let me give you some of the colors I used here. I used black, sugar cane, which is this kind of goldish color. What do you know? When do you know to use an extra piece of stabilizer? What I do, Cindy, is I look at the stitch count. Normally at one piece of tearaway stabilizer holds about 7,000 stitches, but we do have shape flex on here, which really helps keep the fabric stable. Okay. So I knew with 27,000 stitches, I might have been able to do it with just one piece of tearaway, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough stabilizer. So I went ahead and floated a second. That was a lot of stitches. This one had more stitches than most of them do. Okay. And you just, right before you start, just, lift your hoop up and just slide a piece under. That's big enough to cover, the whole area. Okay. You don't have to hoop the second one, just lay it underneath. So I do look at the stitch count. That's how I go by that. Okay, and then the sugar cane was this darker color, this kind of goldish color. And these are the brother colors, by the way, and that's 1128. And then I had this royal purple, and it was 869. And then I used Minty for this the little greenish color, and that's a nice little mint green. That's 1294. And then I had a couple of colors of green for the leaves, and that was leaf green 509 and emerald green 507. And then I had a bunch of these little flowers, so I used a light lilac 810, violet, which is the darker purple, and that's 613. And then I had a couple colors of pink. I had deep rose, which is this darker pink, and that was 86. And the pink, there's a light pink over here, and that was the number 85. Oh, somebody asked if you could put something under the pots to make them stick out. I think you might be able to. Maybe some of the foam, possibly. They might stick out a little bit, Shannon. I'm not sure. They're not digitized for that, though. So generally they digitize something special for that puffy foam. So I'm not sure if it would cover well enough on the edge. These little motif stitches on the edges are pretty narrow, and they usually make them thicker for the foam so that they cover the edges really well. Okay. So I would probably on this one, it wasn't really digitized for that. Okay. So we got all the colors. Now, the one thing I would tell you about the 3 appliques, and it does state that in the instructions, to use the same color thread for your tack down as you do for because these are all motif stitches, and your tack down stitch could show through. Okay, so you want to make sure that you use the same color, and so you don't show through. Okay, so that is actually stated in the instructions. Like the first one was for the first basket was number 4 on page 3, and they do that each time they get to the basket. So basically the sewing order was, it did the strings here, okay, and then it did the first applique basket, and it did the whole thing. So it did the placement line, the tack down line, trim, and then the motif stitch over the top. And then it did the purple basket, same order. And then it did the green basket the same way. Okay. And those were the 3 pieces that were appliqued, and those are all 3 motifs. So I would tell you to use matching thread. And then after that, and that's why I decided not to sew it out in class, just because there was a lot of stitches in these. So the rest of it is just, sewing. It does the leaves. There's 2 colors in the leaves, and then it starts doing the violets and light and dark violet, and then it goes to some of the yellow flowers, or the centers. It was the centers of the flowers. And then it does, let's see, goes back to some of the pink flowers and the centers. I use black on the centers of the flowers, the yellow flowers, and then it went to these darker pink flowers. Okay, so most of this is just sewing. And it after you did the 3 little baskets, which were the first 3 things with the applique, the rest of it was just stitched. Okay. And then the last 2 pieces were the lettering at the bottom. So that's why it does take a little while to stitch this out, because it was just kind of a long stitch out. And all of these little pieces up here took quite a while. So that's why I thought, I think you can handle the 3 little pieces of applique. I just wanted to make sure you knew to use matching threads for your tack downs, because you may see them. And then I used about 10 colors in it. So that way I actually put it up on the PR, and then I could just load it up one time and do the 3 appliques and then turn my back, and it finished. so that was kind of nice. Okay. So is this making sense to everybody how I hooped it? Will you post your brother thread numbers if you? Oh, sure, I will. Cindy, yeah, I will. There were quite a few this time. So yeah, I'll post them on the group, okay? under the comments. I'll do that for you because I like the Brother color. I use the Brother Pace Setter Pro is what they call it now. It used to be Simplicity Pro. Now they've changed the name again. But I've been using that thread for years and I really like it. So, okay. Didn't get a notification you were back on. Oh, okay, cool. Some people are finding me. Well, you know, it was weird because it let me back into the same video. I mean, it says that I've been on for 40 minutes. And so it didn't stop. It kept going, even though it was black. So I can just download it. And when I put it up on YouTube, I'll splice it a little bit in the center and take out some of the part where I was off. So hopefully that'll make the video a little bit better on YouTube. Okay. All right. So all of the stitching, it was quite a few color changes. There were 32 on this one. So yeah, it was really weird. I don't know what happened. So some things just happen sometimes. It's not giving me any comments again though. So there we go. So the next section then is we're just going to sew this together because this is one of the flange ones. So I thought maybe you'd like to see it sewn together. So is there any other questions about the embroidery? Does that make sense to everybody? How I hooped it? You know, it's like kind of our standard hooping with the tearaway, the gluing it down. I did add the second piece of stabilizer this time. And then the next section is going to be trimming. So if you give me a second, I'm going to move my camera over here and we're going to trim it. So you're going to want your 8.5 by 8.5 pop ruler, orange pop ruler. I am going to pull this, I'm going to leave the stabilizer on until after I've got it trimmed and then I'll pull it off. Okay. So give me a second. We'll just move this over. Gonna slide my arm out to sewing so that it's easier for the camera here. Give me just a second. I got my power cord wrapped around my camera arm here. And then we'll do the trimming and then we will start sewing it together. But yeah, this one was really fun. This was one of my favorite ones. And I loved the June ones are really, really fun. Okay, so let's put this up here so you can see me trim. Yeah, you could quilt it. Actually, that would be really cute. And this one has quite a bit of stitches on it, so you could put some batting in there. You could actually use one of their quilting designs and quilt it. Yeah, you could. They don't usually do that with the pillows. They're so small, but it would look cute that way. All right, second here. It's still not giving me any of the, as long as I go out and come back in, I can see the questions. Okay, so now we're going to do the trimming. So I've got my 8.5 by 8.5 inch ruler out here, and I'm going to go ahead and just, let's see, make sure there's nothing special. Ooh, there was something special on this one, I remember. Visually center the embroidered design using the 8.5 by 8.5. Place the ruler with the basket hangers 1/4 inch from the top edge. So in other words, we want to be about 1/4 inch above these little basket hangers here. So let me go ahead and grab a ruler and we'll mark that so we know that we've got that at the right spot. So I'm gonna mark those so that I make sure I don't miss. Second here, turn this and we'll mark that so I know I don't miss. I forgot that these had those special instructions. So let's see here. See if we can kind of get these marked. So if I make a mark here, then I can remember that I need to be about there with my ruler. All right. It's been a while since I've done this one. All right. So then we're going to get these kind of, so I got that there. And see, when you take the 1/4 inch seam, then see the little basket hangers are going to be right up there. So I am going to pull my ruler down just a little bit to make sure they get in that seam or just up to the seam. Okay, like that. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty straight. All right, and then we're going to start. Now, again, I'm left-handed. So remember, I'm left-handed. So I'm going to start on the right-hand side. Okay, I'm going to tip this way. And I'm going to start on the right hand side. I get my blade open. Go back into the corner and forward. And when you're working with these rulers, just be slow and deliberate about them. I like to leave the stabilizer on though when I'm trimming, because I think it stays flatter and it's easier to keep everything straight. And then I pull the stabilizer off before I put it together. All right, so I'm going to twirl this around. I'm always cutting on the right hand side. Second hand, I'm going to go in and out again so I can see somebody's been asking questions. Are you putting the ruler on your mark? Yes, I put the ruler on the mark right here. It kind of went away, so you can't see it very well. So you want to be about 1/4 of an inch above these little things, because they want to be at basically at the top of the pillow when you sew it, the 1/4 inch seam in. So I'll show you my other pillow. Okay, so I'm trimmed all the way around. Maybe. See if it'll let go here. Here's my little pot. Let me show you what I mean here. So see, we wanted the little, see how the little hangers go right up to the seam line there. So they look like they're hanging out of the top of the pillow. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna turn this over and I'm gonna pull as much of the stabilizer as I can get off. I always like to trim though with the stabilizer on, because I really think it stays flatter, and then you don't have so much. It doesn't pucker on the edges. It's hard to keep it straight on the edges if there's no stabilizer on it. All right, so remember there's going to be 2 layers here that we're going to take off, and I like to try to get down to the shape flax.
Okay.
So the shape flax, I like to try to get down to the shape flax so that when I go to put it in the pillow form, it doesn't like pucker and stuff because of the stabilizer. All right. See if anybody's asked anything else. Sorry, the comments are not coming through on my tablet very well tonight for some reason. Nothing's working very well, I guess, huh? Well, it's all right. Everybody will still understand. All right, so I'm getting there. Sorry, it's taken me a few minutes. I wanted to get this off because I don't want to have to take it all apart later and do it again. Okay. All right, so I think we got it. What do you think? So there's our, okay, typical MediaCom. Well, you know, and it's funny is that Jan that said that, because, you know, I don't usually have too much trouble, but I do have trouble if it rains. And see, it's been raining today. So I'm thinking it has something to do. They said that there was a problem out on the street, and I don't know if they've ever fixed it or if it only is when it rains that it causes a problem. Because what happened the first time this happened was that there was water in the line that came down our street. So, okay. All right, so here is our little square top. It's 8.5 by 8.5. Let me turn this a little bit, see if I can see what's going on. And now we're ready to sew it together. So now my doorbell just went off. Somebody must be near my door. My doorbell just went off. My Ring doorbell. Okay, so we've got our little, I've got a white cotton, Pima cotton thread in my needle and in my bobbin. And give me a second, I want to plug my foot controller back in here. I always have it tied around my arm for the, oh, well, and I don't usually have too much trouble with the internet, but it seems to be when it rains, and it's been so rainy, you know, the last couple weeks on the weekends. So I just should know that I need to reset everything before I start class. I'm just going to automatically do it. All right, so whoops, I need a foot. I'm going to put my J foot on, and I'm going to use my piecing stitch, which is Q02 on my machine. And And I got to get that on there. Let's see. Okay. And I'm going to start with, second here, I'm still not getting any comments, so I can't see what you're saying. So I'm going to start, the first step is to put the borders on the sides. So we're going to start with the sides. So we're going to put the shorter ones, the 8.5 inch ones, because that's how big we made our square. We're going to put those on the sides. So I'm just going to get those lined up. Second here, and I've got my camera kind of in the way of my arms, so I need to scoot over. All right, I got my 1/4 inch seam. I'm using my Q02, so then I'm just going to run my foot right along the edge of my, okay, and this one, just so you know, I had this trouble when I sewed it together before. It wants to hit some of the little stitching right here. So I kind of lost my 1/4 inch. So I'm going to back up a little bit. It wants to veer off just a little bit because it's a little bumpy there with, I think it's from some flowers underneath there. So I have to kind of give it a little help to stay straight right there. There we go. Normally I don't have to do that, but those little bumpy flowers. I think I did it to me a little bit down here by the letters too. There we go. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to turn it around. Let's do the other one. And of course I can see Jan didn't do very well cutting my strips, so they're a little off. Okay. So do the same thing here. Let's see if I can keep it straight this time. There's some more flowers up under here, so remember I had a little trouble with this before because it's kind of close to the flowers. So the foot kind of hits them a little bit. So if you kind of give it just a little bit of pressure this way, then it stays straight. There we go. I go through, oh, my mind is telling me I should quilt my board. Oh yeah, because, well, if you quilt the inside here, Shannon, if you quilt the inside, I would tell you to quilt the borders too. But it is kind of small, so I don't know that it's really necessary. Okay. It would look cute quilted, but I would tell you to probably do the borders too. You wouldn't have to though. You could just do the borders separate because the borders are going to be flanges. So if you quilt these tiny flanges, I think they're going to be kind of stiff. So you might be able to get by just quilting the inside and then leaving these alone because they're basically the flange. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go press these real quickly so we can put the other two on. And I may have to trim. All right. Oh yeah, my borders are off, so we'll fix it. I'm not a very good cutter. Seems like my borders are always a little too long. So we'll fix it. Oops, I don't think I still quite got it. There we go. And I'll do the other side because of course, you know, it wasn't straight either. All right. Okay. So there's the first two borders. After I trimmed, I had to trim a little bit because I was a little off. Okay. So then we're going to put these on. So let's put the top and the bottom ones on. So this is step number 3 on the bottom page 9. So we're going to put the longer ones on. So these are the longer ones. Let's see if I can get these straight. Having trouble getting them started tonight. There we go. And I am going to tie off on the ends here. Like this. Oops, let's see if I can line them up. I didn't pin. You don't have to pin these. I don't normally when I'm doing like little borders, but I am going to have to trim the other end because obviously I didn't cut very, very well, which is my normal problem. Sometimes when I cut these, I'm doing, you know, a couple, 3 kits at a time, and I get in a hurry, and I'm not very good cutter, so my borders often are a little bit longish. I guess long is better than short, isn't it? Yeah, so like none of the I don't cut my strips to length. Oh yeah, well, these, like I said, I cut them to length, but they're usually a little long, so. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the bottom one on. Just turned around, use my Q02 piecing stitch at 1/4 of an inch. Let's do this side. Okay. But you know, it's funny, I don't ever have problems I so rarely have problems with the internet at home, but I also own all my own equipment there. And here I have to use the MediaCom modem, and I think part of it is their equipment. Because I've never had any problems at home. I've done so many classes there, and I just don't have problems. But, you know, I don't cut my strips and lengths. Oh, yeah, leaving a little bit at the top of the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to press these out. And, of course, you know, here I am about, you know, 1/8 of an inch off. But, you know, it's just me. So I'll press these real quick. And then we'll trim them a little bit. And I tell you not to press on your embroidery any more than you have to, because it's gonna wrinkle with the steam. So I usually just press on the fabric of my borders and not on the, you know, I try not to be on the embroidery at all. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. What do you think? So there's the little borders. I got those. I just trimmed them a little bit. Unfortunately, Cindy, no, because he has a phone. That's why I have to use their equipment. If he didn't have a phone, then yes, I could. My modem is much. I bought a really expensive modem, and I've never had any trouble because I've always owned my own. But he has a phone, and that's why I have to use their equipment. And I hate to turn the phone off, so I'm kind of stuck. I've been thinking about it just because I've had problems. So okay, so now since this is a flange, the backing pieces were bigger. They were 10.5. So that they go all the way to the top, and then we're going to do the little stitch in the ditch thing around the outside edge. So now they show the backs going on like horizontally, and you can do that if you want to. I normally put mine vertically, so it doesn't matter. Either way works. So these are going to be an envelope back. I've already pre-hemmed the one long side. Okay. So I'm just going to line up now and again, I'm going to do mine vertically, and it shows in the instructions horizontally, but it's fine to do them this way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and line up my raw edges, grab my pins here. We're going to pin these. So I've got all my raw edges lined up, and then the hem's going to be on the inside. And I always like to make sure I know exactly where the overlap is going to be here. But see, now it's working fine after I reset it. It's the weirdest thing. So I think I'm just going to automatically do that every Sunday, be right before class. You know, maybe half an hour or so before class. I'll just reset everything. I don't know why. It's weird. It's a MediaCom thing. Because they say my signal's really good, and I never have any trouble except using StreamYard. So, weird thing. Okay, so let me go ahead, and I'm going to put a couple pins on this side. And whoops. Sure, I know where my little overlaps are going to be, and then we'll put the other side on. I usually just do one side at a time. Seems to work better for me. So we'll do the side and overlap it. It doesn't matter which way it overlaps. You can do it either way. Right over left, left over right, doesn't matter. Whichever you prefer. I'm sure that mine are all different. Do the corners. Oops. Get the corners done here. And I always like to know where that overlap area is. Okay. Right there. So we got that little overlap. So I'm going to take this pin out and stick it out here so I can see it better. And then we'll go over here. And I'll do the same thing over here. I like to make sure I know where that little overlap is because I'm going to sew over it a couple times so that it's stronger. I have trouble. I don't have to so much with these because this is the flange. So I don't know that I will tonight. There's not going to be as much stress on this because remember there's going to be another stitching line in here. So we'll do something to make it stronger in the next step. Okay, so I'm just going to sew around this all the way and with my 1/4 inch seam. So I still got Q02 up here, and I am not going to double sew this. Yeah, if that's Jan, is that Jan? Yeah, Jan, I would if you don't have a phone. But see, if you have a phone, you have to use their equipment. So that's why I have to up here, because I've always had my own. I have my own modem, my own router at home, and I've never had any problems. Okay, so we're just going to sew all the way around. Now I am not, like I said, I'm not going to double sew that little area because we're going to take care of that problem in the next step. And of course, you know, right sides were together here. Let's get lined up here. And I have my pivot feature on my machine. I love that because then I don't have to push a bunch of buttons to get around the corners. See, the foot goes up and the needle goes down. I use that. I have it on almost all the time. It was funny. It just came back from service. So Ron had turned it off. It was like, oh, why isn't my foot going up? He had turned it off. He must turn it off when he sews on them. Okay, so I'm going to take the pins out all the way around the outside edge here. Second. I just love these little flange ones. Oops, I just popped the pin right across the floor there. Have to go hunt it down. Just went flying. All right, getting about to the corner here. Gonna do the last little bit of the side. All right, we're back around to the front, to the seam. So I'm going to tie off there as well and cut. Oh, so yeah, so I'm not sure who that was. I'm so sorry. I had a problem. I had a technical. Oh, it's Ginny. Ginny, I'm sorry. I had a technical issue in the middle of this too. So I will put it up on YouTube also, and I'll take out the little gap in the middle. So I'm so sorry. The things didn't work, are not working very well. It's been raining here all day. Okay, so I've got this all the way around. Now we need to turn it right side out. And I'm going to do Grandma's little trick. I've showed this lots of times. I'm going to take my first finger and put it into the corner of my pillow top, and I'm going to pull the seam allowance to the stitching line. And then I'm going to push it down to the stitching line and make the beautiful corner, hold it with my thumb, and then turn it right side out. And then it makes a beautiful square corner, okay? Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here and across, okay? I make my little corner, And I'm going to turn it right side out. This makes such nice corners. And then even if they're a little bit bulky, but don't trim your corners, because if you trim your corners, I can guarantee you you're going to put your little poker stick right through them. Okay. So I'm pulling it down to the seam line. I'm pushing it down to the seam line. I'm making the corner. I'm going to hold it with my thumb and turn it. Okay. Just like that. So yeah, I apologize about the technical difficulty. And it was funny though, because StreamYard just kept going and it let me back in again. So that's good. It just kept, I didn't turn it off or anything. I just kept going and it let me back in. So I can fix it when I put it up on YouTube. Okay. So now I'm going to take my favorite little tool and just perfect my corners like that. Now with this, with the flanges, the one thing we want to do is we want to get these really flat. So I'm going to finger press these. Yeah, my grandma was a cool lady. So was my mom. Grandma sewed more than mom did. Mom did sew, but she did not like grandma did. So I'm going to go ahead and I like to finger press these kind of in because we want this to be real flat here because we're going to sew and make these into flanges. So I'm just kind of pressing these down. See, I'm rolling it back and pressing these down with my thumbs. And then I'm going to run over to the iron and press them nice and flat like that. Okay. I know, isn't that tool the best thing ever? And then I'm going to do this side. So I'm just kind of, there we go, finger pressing it in, and then it makes it faster when I go to the iron to get it ironed down. Okay, so there's that one. Let's do the bottom one here. So get these. So I just kind of roll the seam back and get back to the seam so it's kind of flat, and then I can take this over to the iron and really finish it off. There we go. It looks pretty good. Okay, we'll have a nice little flange. Okay, so let me go press this real quick and then we'll do the last step. I always got to press it because if you don't press it, things just get wrinkly underneath. See if I can get it nice and flat. My iron's not steaming very well tonight. And again, try to just press on your flanges, not on the embroidery, because the more you press your embroidery, it can get wrinkly, see? So I'm just really doing the flanges. Oh, yeah, my grandma sewed with me. So I'd sit on her lap. My grandma had a treadle sewing machine and I'd sit on her lap and sew, but she treadled because it was tricky. So I didn't get to treadle. Okay, so now the next thing I like to do when I do these flanges is I like to pin along the flange, because especially where the little overlap is right here, I like to put a pin in there because they roll, things want to move a little bit on me. So I usually pin as I'm going like this. So we'll just pin around here. Just kind of holds the flange nice and flat because we want them to be pretty and flat. So, whoops, looks like I got a thread here. Trim that out of there. Okay. So next week, I'll make sure that I reset everything before we start class. All right. That looks pretty good. Ouch, I just stabbed myself with the pin. And get the last side. But yeah, the pinning helps me. And I'm going to check the bottom because I think I missed the little, where the little overlap is. And I want to make sure that that little open spot right there is pinned, so that it doesn't flip over on me. So often they'll flip over. So I like to make sure I put a pin right there so that it doesn't flip when I go. Okay. So now we're going to sew from the top, and we're going to kind of stitch in the ditch along this seam line right here. Now I am going to use white thread, so it will kind of show on the back, which is fine because there's white in the fabric. Okay. But I don't want it to show on the front. And the one trick that I learned with this, I have always learned, you know, I always had trouble with these wanting to like split open on me when I went to put the little pillows in right here where that little overlap is. So what I do is I use a triple stitch. So I'm going to switch to my triple stitch, which is on the utility tab. And I'm going to use, it's 105 on my machine. So let's bring this over here. And I'm going to use the length. I'm going to leave it, I think 3.0 might be a little bit better. And then I like to sew with my needle in the center. So I'm going to change on my machine, get down here. My machine has left, right shift. So you see the width is blacked out, so I can't change that. Some of them will let you change the width, but I'm going to change mine, the left, right shift to 3.5, which is the center needle position. Sorry, I can't get it to go. There we go. My fingers don't always work on the screen. There we go. So I want it to be on 3.5 so that my needle is in the center so I can see where I'm going. Okay. So we're going to go ahead, and I like to use my J foot because there's like a little notch right in the middle here, and they do make a stitch in the ditch foot, but I still find that I do better with my J foot because I focus on that little notch right there where the needle goes down. Okay. So that seems to work the best for me. And the stitch in the ditch foot is nice, but I just, it's kind of distracting to me because the little thing in the center. So I find that I actually do better with this. But with the triple stitch, you notice I didn't start in the corner. I started kind of on the side. So I like the triple stitch though, because it makes this flange line stronger, and then you don't have, but you got to be a little careful in the corners that you don't, whoop, like I just did, go a stitch into the flange. But you know what? It's okay. I usually try to be very careful that I don't go into the flange, but I did this time. All right, so let's turn this around, and hopefully, let's see if my machine, it's going to go forward, I think. Got around the corner. Because, you know, with the triple stitch, it goes back and forth, but it makes it a nice strong seam so that it won't rip open. Looks like a lot of the people that lost us are finding us again. Oops, kind of got off there. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on tonight. It's kind of dark today. I usually do pretty good, but I kind of got a little off on this one. Oh well. All right. Get up to the corner. There we go. Take this one off. And then go forward. Whoops, of course I had to go backwards first. You know how it goes. I could have hit the button again and it would have gone forward, but I'll show you that little trick in the next corner. Sometimes I can get it to work, but sometimes I can't. So if you hit the button again, but the thing is it goes into, I'm going to hit one. I'll show you a little trick in the center in the second here when I get to the corner again. And I do this with decorative stitches too, to keep it from, like, you want the machine to move forward when you go out of the corner. And sometimes you can't remember if you've gone forward or back. So, of course, you know, I'm not sure right now. So this is one way to fix that. So I have my settings where I want them for this stitch, and I'm going to hit the memory button on my machine. And so that way it's saved in there. Okay. And now if I hit this button again, it'll automatically stay at the settings that I had it at. But now I know for sure I'm in the corner. I know it's going to go forward because I started the stitch over again. So now I know when I start up, it's going to go forward out of the corner instead of backward. And so what you want to do is you got to, whatever settings you have your decorative stitch or your stitch set at, make sure you save it in the machine before you hit the button, because it clears the settings if you don't have it saved. So I just hit the memory button first to get my settings all saved. Okay, we're just about down to the other corner. And I'll show it to you again. So then I got to get in the corner. Okay, now remember, we want it to go forward instead of possibly going backwards. So I already saved it with the memory button in my machine. And so now if I go back up here and hit the button again, it's like it starts the stitch over. And then I can go, now I know it's going to go forward out of the corner. So it's going to go forward out of the corner, see? So I didn't have to worry about going over to the end. I always forget to do that. I forgot to do that on a couple of corners. It works really good. But just got to remember to save your design first, especially if you've changed, the settings or something. There we go. I'm going to tie it off. I got all the way back around where I was. I can't see who said that. That's cute. It's not a masterpiece to be judged. Oh, that's true. That's why I don't like, honestly, I don't like competitions, because I enjoy sewing for the fun of it. And sometimes I think competitions are so critical, So there, what do you think? There's my little, yeah, that is a really cool, because some of the machines, just so you know, like this, like I'm in the utility side of the machine right now, and my machine has this button here that's the start at the beginning button, and not all the machines have it on the utility side of the sewing. They have it on the decorative side, but not always on the utility. So this button here does the same thing. On my Luminaire, it's up here at the top right here. But you get the same result by just saving your design, your settings that you wanted in the memory. And you can set up to 5 things on this machine. Some you can only do 1, but this one does 5. And then if you just hit the button again, it just goes back to the beginning, like you started the stitch over again, and it keeps all your settings. But like I said, some of the machines have this button on the utility and some don't. Some of those smaller machines don't, like my 5200 doesn't, but it does have it on the decorative stitch side, and that's like start at the beginning. So I've always done it the other way, because some of the machines don't have that ability. So I know that if I just save it and and hit the button again, it starts over. And then I go out of the corners. So okay. So there is our stitches. Let's see how I did on the back here. Oh, good. I didn't turn over any of the little things in the back. All right. So now those are nice and strong, since we used a triple stitch. These are nice and strong. So when I go to put my pillow form in, so let me see if I can grab it here. When I go to put my pillow form in, I won't rip it open, because that's what was always happening. I was always ripping these open, and I figured out, well, I can just use a triple stitch there. So we're going to put our little pillow form in here. This is actually one of the little Kimberbell 8-inch pillow forms. I ran out of mine, so I had a couple of these at home. Okay, but this is when I would always rip it, when I went to put the second side in. So we'll get the corner down in there. But yeah, I really like the triple stitch. So that really helped. Because one day I thought, hey, I wonder if I just did a triple stitch there, if that would help. And then I thought, that worked. That worked. I always have to work on these to get the little backs to lay flat, though. There we go. And there's our little pillow. Isn't it cute? These are so cute. This was really a fun one. Really a fun one. So what do you think? We made it, even with the internet problems. So sorry that it took a little bit longer than I anticipated, because I thought we'd be done about a little after 7, but you know, it took an extra 10 minutes for me to restart the router. So we'll be, this one's all done. And I don't think I missed anything. Make check the instructions. I think we got everything. Okay. So, and yes, I will, I'll post my list of threads on the post when I get done. So I have to do a little work on the video and stuff, but I'll post that a little later tonight. But isn't that darling? I just thought this was such a cute pillow. Oops, got another tail. Always got little tails everywhere you got to trim. Let's get that one trimmed. There you go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera up. We made it through even with a little bit of a delay. I didn't know that. I was happy that the there we go. All right, I was happy that the StreamYard just kept going. The live just kept going. It was just black, wasn't it, on your end? It just went black for a little bit. So that was nice that it kept going and I could just come right back in. So yeah, you were late, but yeah, it didn't go off for you. But so yeah, so when I put it on YouTube, I'll just take the little black part out. In the center, I have some software I can do that with, so it makes it really cool. So next week, don't forget, we're going to do the little pillow, and we're going to do this little exercise in the I Love You to the Moon and Back. We're going to do this in IQ Designer Design Center. This is my little, I did a lighter colored one too. So this one is, that's what we're going to do next week. And then the last week in May will be the software class, and we're going to digitize this little home pillow. The little, and it is, like I said, it doesn't have to be on a pillow. I just thought it was cute, so I made it into a pillow. So this is what we're going to do in the software class. So got everything kind of ready for May now. So, all right. So thank you so much for sticking it out with me with all the delays. And hopefully next week I'll remember to reset everything before we have class. So thanks everybody. Have a good Mother's Day. Good night.